Hello everyone, welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I am Big Italy 42, here breaking down tonight's slate of action on DraftKings. And I'm going to be going game by game here to give you the entire breakdown. Tell you who I'm targeting, some stacks, everything. Obviously only a 4-game slate, so not a whole lot of ways to be different here. But I'm going to try to help you out with some guys that I'm going to be looking at. Maybe some guys you weren't targeting in your lineups, and a few injury concerns, some guys that are in lineups, starting, things like that. So without further ado, going to go ahead and start things off here with Oakland at the LA Angels. An 8-run total here. It's a pick'em between Jesse Chavez and Nick Tropiano. And the great thing about this is you've got Jesse Chavez, who is $4,300 tonight on DraftKings, and this will be his first start. He pitched 3 2/3 against Kansas City last time out, last Saturday, filling in after Jesse Hahn left the game, and he was phenomenal. Walked 1, struck out 6, gave up 4 hits. He's been great out of the bullpen so far this year, and at $4,300, you need 2 pitchers, obviously, on DraftKings. You're going to have to pair someone. I'll get to my other option. I think you know where I'm going with this one, but Jesse Chavez at $4,300, yes, it is a tough matchup, but at $4,300, he's not going to hurt you too badly if he doesn't have a great game. I mean, just to put it in perspective, you've got well over a dozen hitters priced at that price or higher. So get a starting pitcher at that price, essentially in a pick'em. I don't mind pairing him up with the top ace tonight in cash games. So that's probably a route that I'll be going. A lot of other guys I like for GPPs, but not as much stability as you'd like elsewhere. So as far as hitters go in this game, Stephen Vogt at $3,500, first base or catcher eligibility. Not a lot of catcher options tonight. I'll be playing Stephen Vogt in most of my lineups at catcher. Nick Tropiano, by the way, if you'd like to play him, you can't. He's not available in the player pool, making a spot start there. But just to give you a little background, last year in limited action, 14.3% strikeout rate, 9.9% walk rate, and a 46% fly ball rate. You don't like that, but I mean, it is a pitcher's park, so Vegas kind of expecting a little bit of fireworks, I guess, an 8-run total in pitcher's park, but either way, I wouldn't be targeting him either way, and I'm not concerned about taking hitters against him either. Albert Pujols, certainly a play at $4,600 if you're not playing Chavez. Ike Davis at $3,600 at first base makes for a nice play against a righty, assuming he's got a nice lineup spot around 5th or 6th. Ben Zobrist is a guy who looks like he's going to return probably tomorrow, so make sure you don't have him in your lineups today. Brett Lowry is second and third base eligible. He's a guy who isn't hitting particularly well, but he's got some upside. And at shortstop, you could always look at Eric Ibar. Not a lot of great options today at shortstop. He's not hitting the ball particularly well, but hitting behind a lot of those big bats, there should be some RBI opportunities for him if you're not going with Chavez. In the outfield, I don't need to tell you about Mike Trout. Most expensive option on the day at $5,500, of course. Cole Calhoun is a nice swerve off him at $46. I don't mind going that route, once again, if you're not going Chavez. And on the Oakland side, Sam Fould's been leading off. He's been having a nice season, batting over 300 at $315. He's at $3,300, so he probably makes for one of my favorite value plays in the outfield. Next up, Baltimore at Toronto, and this one's Drew Hutchison against Chris Tillman. Hutchison minus 125 favorite, but an 8.5-run total here, so Vegas is expecting to see some runs here, and I tend to agree. Hutchison got off to a nice start this season, but if you look at his last 2 logs, he got crushed by Baltimore. 7 earned runs and 4 1/3. Atlanta gave up 5 runs, 4 earned, and 4 2/3. He's not pitching deep into games right now. He's not striking out a ton of batters. He does have 11 strikeouts in his last 2 games, but really getting hit hard. So I'm really concerned with him tonight, especially against the Baltimore lineup that has a lot of power. Tillman, same thing. We saw Jose Bautista sit out last night, maybe because he's afraid of Eduardo Jimenez, maybe because he really had tightness in his shoulder, or a shoulder strain, I should say. Either way, all the hitters in this one are in play. I mean, you've got Alejandro De Aza as a nice discount at $4K. Leading off, I like him. Obviously, Adam Jones in play at $4,800. You like him more against a lefty, but the guy's just mashing the ball anyway. I'll be getting myself some Adam Jones exposure. Still going to be one of the top hitters on the board. Travis Snyder at $3,900 is not a bad play there either. Jose Reyes batting exclusively from the right side to protect his ribs now. He's at $4,700. So you're seeing some expensive guys here. At third base, I like Josh Donaldson at $4,600. Chris Davis obviously in play, but not a guy that I'm going to be actively targeting. If he fits, he fits. And then moving on to second base, Devin Travis. Homered again last night. Guy's off to a great start. He should be batting second. $3,200. Gotta absolutely love him. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Jimmy Paredes. Last night's darling. The guy who I and many others played so that I could afford David Price, and we all know how that worked out. Still sitting at $2,000 today, so I don't care what you're doing. Get Jimmy Paredes in your lineup. He opens up the door for pretty much anyone else you want. You can play him at third base or outfield. I will have him in all of my lineups tonight. I see no reason not to. He's the cheapest player on the board. He's got upside. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer if he's in the lineup, especially if he's batting second once again. I mean, the guy is hitting the ball very well so far in his limited action. So, I mean, just put him in your lineup at $2,000. Don't overthink this one. Boston at Tampa Bay is next up. This one, Jake Odorizzi versus Clay Buchholz. We could see a pitcher's duel, or we could see some implosions. We've seen both these guys do that, but Vegas tends to think it's going to be more of a pitcher's duel. 7.5 run total. A pick 'em between these two guys. And I like Jake Odorizzi a lot. He's a guy I love to target in tournaments. 24% strikeout rate last year. His big concern was keeping the ball on the ground. He had a 29.9% ground ball rate last season. But through 3 magnificent starts this year, it's up to 43.1%. So, if you look at what he's done, 6 2/3 with 7 Ks, no earned against Baltimore. At the Rogers Center, 8 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run against Toronto. Yankees at home, 6 innings, 9 Ks, 3 earned runs. The guy has been great so far this season. Yes, it's a tough matchup against Boston. I still prefer him over Buchholz. I think Buchholz gives you the higher floor. He's a little bit safer of an option against a weaker Tampa Bay lineup. But he also has the tendency to implode. 3 1/3 against New York in his second start. Gave up 9 hits, 10 runs, 9 earned. So both these guys have upside. I think I prefer Odorizzi despite the tough matchup. I mean, the guy is just pitching lights out right now. With that being said, I'm not targeting a lot of guys here in cash games. Steven Souza, if he's in the lineup, it makes for a nice tournament play at $4,300. Kevin Kiermaier or David DeJesus, preferably DeJesus because of a nice $700 price discount. He's $3,300 if he's leading off. I'm going to get myself some exposure to him. Guys like Desmond Jennings, just not hitting the ball particularly well. I really don't mind target, or I don't want to target him really. As Dribble Cabrera got himself a couple hits last night, hopefully he's starting to get it going again. Weak shortstop position, you can get him for $3,800. And, you know, tournaments, I mean, all these guys are in play. David Ortiz against a guy who has fly ball tendencies throughout his career, $4,400. He's certainly in play there as well. But, like I said, not actively targeting a lot of these guys in cash games because I kind of like both pitchers, especially Odorizzi tonight. So, all right, moving on to the last game here. And this is the guy I was talking about, Chris Sale. He is an ace. He is the ace. He's the guy you want tonight in your cash games. If you're going cheap, pair him with Chavez. If you're not, maybe you pair him with Buchholz or an Odorizzi, whatever your fancy may be. The guy is phenomenal. Last year, 183 WOBA allowed to lefties, 272 to righties. And Kansas City is off to a good start against lefties, actually mashing lefties. They've got a 366 team WOBA and a 166 ISO, striking out just 11% of the time. But Chris Sale is not your average lefty. Strikeout rate of 30.4 last year, rivaling Clayton Kershaw for the best in the league among starters. The guy is just a no-brainer play tonight at $11,000. I know Kansas City's been hitting the ball, but this guy just shut down the Detroit Tigers offense, and this team is not even in the same league as the Tigers offensively. So, going to be playing Chris Sale, and with that, I won't be playing any Kansas City Royals outside of some tournament stacks. And tonight's not that hard to go ahead and just stack every team. There's only 8 teams playing. Get yourself some moonshot entries for $3. Stack each team. Get yourself some exposure to everything. Maybe mix and match a couple pitchers. If you're targeting the White Sox side, Yordan Ventura is wild. He doesn't pitch deep into games, walks almost 9% of batters, and hasn't looked particularly great over his last 2 starts. In fact, negative 2.7 against Oakland at home last time. Now moving to U.S. Cellular Field, which is a big downgrade for him in park factor. A lot of runs expected to be scored at times in this park. It amplifies home runs. Just a 7-run total, though. But, I mean, Chris Sale, as I'm talking, I started this podcast about 10 minutes ago, and he was a minus 140 favorite. Now been bet up to minus 151. I expect that number to continue to rise. With that, Jose Abreu at 5,200, Adam LaRoche at 3,800. A lot of these guys for the White Sox in play. Not saying I'm going out of my way to stack in cash games against Ventura, but I am not concerned at all with him tonight. He's been wild. My thought with Abreu is you either make a mistake or you pitch around him. Abreu's too good of a hitter to not be able to target in this matchup, so I like him a lot. Melky Cabrera's at 4,200. He's not a bad target either. And Adam Eaton, if you need a leadoff hitter, at 3,800, I don't mind him. But all these guys in play, of course, for tournaments. But my cash game, going to be Chris Sale. If I need cheap, it'll probably be Jesse Chavez. And if I'm going to pay up, I'll probably go with Jake Odorizzi in the other side of my cash game. With that, that's going to wrap up the DraftKings Daily Trot for today, for Thursday. I am Big Italy 42. Check out all of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com. Follow our Twitter page at DFCafe. I will see you tomorrow.